My class is doing computer coding, which a lot of people get very nervous about. They don't think students can do that, but students up to even in kindergarten can actually do computer coding. Why would you decide to do this with your kids? Technology definitely is our future. We've seen that just in our classrooms in the last several years, how much things have changed. Problem solving is a huge component of computer coding. You do procedural writing, your how-to speeches, how you make a sandwich, all those kinds of things. You're doing the exact same things when you're doing coding. And a lot of kids are actually already doing this. This year I had 3 students that came into me in August, and when they found out what they were doing coding, they were super excited because they've been doing it at home already, especially with video games and Scratch and all those kinds of things that are available to them. How to start, code.org is a fantastic place to start. Sarah's been talking to us about the hour of code and those kinds of things. We did that last year in December. That was the first time I'd ever done it. My students absolutely loved it. In the spring, I actually went to a free training session in Indianapolis. They taught you how to use the curriculum. They gave you an entire book, which actually my book is back there. I forgot to bring it up here. But everything's written out for you. They have materials for you, reproducibles. They show you how to do things online and offline, which I think is a fantastic component of this. You can create an account, track your students' progress, so you can see your students that are flying through these lessons, the ones that are really good at doing this, and then some of your students take a little bit longer, so you can keep track of all of that. They have courses for kindergarten, first grade, all the way up through high school. And like I said, we have free trainings throughout the state that you can attend. And they send you emails and freebies if you get to attend one of those. The lessons are set up like your typical lesson plans for teachers. They give you all your vocabulary words. If you tell your kids you're going to talk about algorithms today, they're going to have no idea what you're talking about, but it'll show you how to pronounce the word. They'll give you the definition. Again, reproducibles, they even have assessments, so you can take grades on the activities that you're working on with your students. This is the very first assignment that they get, or the first activity that they do, the first lesson, and it's graph paper programming. And so you have this little grid, and they need to write out how would you fill in that grid. So the very top one, you'd start at the square. Your directions would be move right 1 square, fill it in the square, move right 1 square, move right 1 square, fill it in. If you were to do step-by-step directions on how to do that, you'd have over 23 lines of directions. So once the students figured that out, they're like, this is really hard. It's taking us a long time to do that. So then we said the nice thing about coding is you're using symbols and those kinds of things, so we can use pictures, arrows, squiggles, those kinds of things to do the exact same thing. And so the picture at the bottom shows if you're just using arrows and squiggles, how you can show the exact same instructions. It's just much easier to do. And so I had my kids do that, and here they are. At the bottom and up top, you can see the worksheets that they had. They had 6 different grids with different color combinations with the squares. One student would read the directions, move right 1 square, color it in, those kinds of things. The other student used their dry erase board, just wrote down the directions. Then we had them switch places, kind of. And the student with the dry erase board would then read the directions back to the first student who had a plain grid, and then they had to complete their grid. And then hopefully the first grid and the second grid looked the same. If not, there was a lot of finger pointing as to who made the mistake. So the student with the dry erase board a lot of times was saying, you didn't tell that to me right. And they're like, no, I did. I told you to do that. You didn't write it correctly. And so it was just a good, project for them to work on together. We actually did this in our class. If I were to do it again, I would definitely do these grids on the floor, on a tarp, or on a shower curtain, or something that I didn't have to peel off and try to do again. It took a long time to make them, but it's just the students in my class became the actual pieces that you would move this time. So they would create their own kind of maze. Some of them had obstacles, such as chairs were in the way. Apparently there were people laying in the middle of our floor. Someone, I think, had a shark. So they had to move around the maze. They had to write their code at the bottom, their little directions, and then the one student would then read the directions to their partner, and they would actually move square to square. If it worked out correctly, they ended up where they were supposed to. We had a couple students who completely fell off the grid. They're like, in the hallway. And so then the students would then problem solve and figure out, where did I make my mistake? Did I count correctly? And they would be able to work together to try to figure out how to fix it. They had a lot of fun doing that. Unplugged activities are like those two that I just shown. These are ones that you actually don't do on the computers. As much as I love having the computers, it's nice for them to have a hands-on experience and be able to do stuff without the computer, still learning those skills. So paper graph paper programming was the first one. Real-life algorithms, step-by-step instructions. They got to make paper airplanes, which they loved. Looping is a kind of a rhythm activity where they're snapping and clapping and repeating patterns like that. They have a relay programming where they get to run back and forth in a classroom and try to complete one of those grids based on what they see on one end. They have to run back and do the exact same thing at the other end. Conditionals is actually a card game. So when they're playing this game, if they get like a 10 of hearts or something like that, then they have to draw 2 more cards or something like that. Binary codes, all those ones and zeros, they get to make bracelets with their letters of their name. Each letter is 8 different numbers, so they find out really quick that their name is going to be super huge. At Klondike, we have a lot of international students, so their names are long anyway. So if you were to code all of their names, it would be really, really long. Events, these are things that we already do in class. So if you see a specific action, then you would do make a specific sound, or you would respond in a certain way. So I know in our class, if you want them to be quiet, you might raise their hand, and they know that's the signal to be quiet. With this one, it's if you see a star, then you need to move like a cow, or do something silly like that. And then digital footprints, our tech aides do a fantastic job of working on that already, but it's always good for teachers to just keep reiterating that and try to teach our kids the right things to do when they're online. Code Studio, this is the part where you can assign your class to join into this, and this shows you the 4 different courses that are offered with code.org. Again, everything is completely free. Course 1, they say ages 4 to 6. I would say probably kindergarten or 1st grade. It's all done with pictures and those kinds of things. Course 2 is what my 3rd graders are working on, and it's difficult for the 3rd grade. So I would say probably middle, 2nd grade, 3rd grade would probably be a good time for them to do that. They recommend that once you complete course 2, then you can go on to course 3. You don't have to do course 1 first, but you do have to do course 2 before you do 3, and so on. And it saves their progress. I'm getting to that too. Yeah. I'm getting to that, Sarah, don't worry. That's why mine's a little longer. So when I go in as a teacher, it will show you all the different stages. There are 19 different stages that students can go through. It will give you the unplugged activity. If you click on that oval, it will give you a PDF online of the entire lesson. It'll give you links on that PDF of all of the reproducibles, assessments, everything that you could use. Then it has 2 activities that the students will need to do. If it's circled in blue, that means that that is an assessment for that skill that they're teaching. Lesson 1 a lot of times is a video that the students will watch that will explain what looping is, or what, I'm trying to think what some of the other ones are, some of the different sequences. So they'll have people in the field, like there was one was how to make stained glass. So they were showing how you make the same pattern over and over and over again. So it gives them real world experiences with these types of skills. They use block coding, which is where the students just pick one of the blocks off to the side and they'll drag it and click it. It makes a cute little clicking sound. They have lots of familiar characters. Angry Birds, everyone got super excited because they all recognize Angry Birds. So this is one of the very first ones in stage 3. They have to move the Angry Bird 2 little blocks over to get the Naughty Pig, which is what the directions tell you at the top. So once they click their blocks in there, click run, it'll actually do it for them. They'll get a box that will say, congratulations, you completed it, or you might want to try it again. Usually they can get this one on the first try. As the stages go through, it gets much more difficult, as you can see here. This is stage 11, which is pretty advanced. You can see the purple groups, those are the loops where they're repeating things. If you look on the blue tabs, they're moving left and right, and it talks about degrees, so you get your geometry in here. Instead of moving blocks, you're now moving pixels. Some of my third graders have already started to move to that, and I had to explain what a pixel was. I said, it's just guess. There's no specific measurement that you can use. Just kind of guess how far it is. If it goes too far, make it a smaller number. So it's a lot of guess and check type things. And on this one, you can choose how fast or slow it goes through once you check your work. This one actually is one that was already completed, and they want the students to figure out what was wrong and to fix it. So my kids may not make it this far, but we'll see. I may have a couple. I don't know. Hour of Code usually happens in December. It's free to use all year long. I had it on my class webpage last year, and I had students at free time during the computer lab. They would pull it up, and they would get to do any of the activities. Lots of familiar characters, like I said. Star Wars, Angry Birds, Frozen, Moana, Minecraft. Minecraft was huge. Everyone loved that one. They used block coding, JavaScript, and Scratch. Also were different things that were listed this year. And those are some of my students using it. So here you can see my student who's counting all of his blocks, trying to figure out how far his bird needs to come down. And then my girl over there, she's doing the Minecraft, which all the students love the Minecraft one. They get to throw sheep and build fences and do all sorts of stuff. I know nothing about Minecraft, but it's quite fun to play. So this is how you track your progress. You just put your students in. It gives them a little 2-word code that they can type in. I have a new student that I just added, so he's the bottom one. So he has all white ones because he hasn't started it yet. But the students that complete them, if they complete it correctly, it will be that dark green. If it's a lighter green, it means they completed it, but they made it a little harder than it really needed to be. So you can kind of check those. The yellow ones that's where they're starting right now. That's where they're at. If you want to see perhaps why a student used too many blocks, was it a hard question, what types of activities they were, you can click on that number, and it will take you directly to that task, so you can see what all the students are working on. So this is just a free draw one, and then at the right-hand side, you can see the panel, so I can see that 2 of my students have completed that one, and several of my students haven't reached that part yet. So that's kind of a nice feature. If you see a bunch of light green ones, is that a really hard task? It could even be something that you work on in class to try to help them with some of those problem-solving type things. You can also use coding using games. When I had gone to the training, these were 2 games that they had mentioned. Codemaster is still in my closet. I have not pulled it out for the students yet. I wasn't sure how they would take to coding at first, but Mastermind I do have on my shelf, and for indoor recess, I have a set of students playing it every single day. One student makes a little code in this little secret compartment, and then their partner needs to try to figure out what colors and what order that their pegs are that they have hiding. There's also other offline activities. This is one that came from a group called Project Lead the Way. This is a coding activity where students have almost like a twister board, and they will have bones and mud puddles and that sort of thing throughout the grid, and then students will use different cards to travel across, and they'll teach things like conditionals. Well, when you reach the bone, then you can pick it up, and those types of things. This activity itself has rules for kindergarten through 2nd grade, and then a second set of rules for grades 3 through 5, which I thought was pretty interesting. And this was emailed to me completely free, and I think because of all of the code.org stuff that I've been doing. Block coding and robotics. Robots are really popular now. Because I took the training in the spring, I had gotten an email from the company that makes Dash, and you can get him for a discounted price. So of course I jumped on it, and our PTO helped pay for it. So my class now owns this robot. We haven't tried it yet, but that's our goal for this spring. Students can use iPads or other devices to run the free apps that go with these robots. They can control the sounds, the movements. He spins, he makes noises, he can sing, has lights that flash off and on. And the reason really why we bought it is they have add-ons. So it has a little xylophone that you can play, and the one that we bought has a catapult, so my kids will be able to shoot things across the room. So, I mean, my principal was excited about that. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted him. And then this year, to go along with the robots, the Harrison Robotics team actually came to visit our school. And so our students, knowing that they're doing this coding, knowing we have the robot, it was exciting for them to see that when they get to be in high school, they might be able to be part of that robotic team and be able to create something like this that can shoot frisbees into hoops and do all those kinds of things. So.